let me bring on our next speaker here, Laxminarayan. No, I practiced and I got it right the first 4 times. Hold on. Laxminarayan. Did I get that right the second time? Thank you. I just spent the last minute saying it to myself and I still screwed it up. So I apologize. I'm very sensitive to name pronunciations. Laxminarayan Bhat is the founder, president, and CEO of, the company is up on the screen, Reviva Pharmaceuticals, ticker RVPH. Do we have your slides from you, sir?
Can you see me now?
Yes, perfect. Thank you. We got them up.
Okay. So, yep. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and I welcome you all to Reviva presentation. See, Reviva is a clinical stage company. Before I begin my presentation, I would like all the viewers to take a look at our forward-looking statement displayed here. See, Reviva is a clinical stage company currently focused on developing new therapies for neuropsychiatric and pulmonary indications. The lead programs for neuropsychiatry is schizophrenia phase 3 stage, and pulmonary indications, pulmonary arterial hypertension and pulmonary fibrosis. All these 3 indications are highly unmet medical need and then a large market size. Reviva became a public company in last December, currently traded on NASDAQ stock market under ticker symbol RVPH. So we closed a follow-on offering on June 1st, a $34.5 million financing round. It was participated by 3 well-known healthcare investors. We are now currently fully funded to execute phase 3 study in schizophrenia. So before going into R&D presentation, I would like to take a minute to highlight background of management. My name is Lax Bhat. I'm founder and CEO of Reviva Pharmaceuticals. My background is I'm a scientist by training. Currently, been in the industry over 20 years. Contributed to 1 approved drug currently in the market in the CNS space. With my colleague Mark Cantion, he brings over 20 years of experience in the industry, contributed to 4 drugs currently in the market. Prior to joining Reviva, he worked for major pharmaceutical companies like AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Sanofi Aventis, and then Merck. So with us, our CFO, Narayan Prabhu, again, he brings over 20 years of experience in the industry, both in the information technology and then biotechnology space. Prior to joining Reviva, he was a CFO at Sony Biotechnology. So all 3 of us in a senior management at Reviva, well experienced in this space and very confident of leading Reviva through NDA and then beyond, taking Reviva to next stage. So with this background, I would like to give a very high-level overview of our R&D programs and a outlook for the company, and then with respect to especially the value inflection data readouts in the next 18 to 24 months. So currently, we have 2 molecules in development, RP1208 and then RP5063. Both the molecules are discovered in-house, and we have granted compositions of matter patents for both the molecules. So RP5063 is the lead asset. We have completed 2 studies in schizophrenia for RP5063, in both in stable schizophrenia phase 1B and then a large phase 2 study, global study in 234 patients in acute schizophrenia and schizoaffective disorder patient population. So based on the data in hand, we are very optimistic of extending the label claim of this drug to beyond schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, major depressive disorder, and ADHD. Also, psychosis and behavioral symptoms in vulnerable patient populations such as Parkinson and Alzheimer's patients as well. So this drug has also shown good efficacy in translational model for lung diseases, pulmonary arterial hypertension, and idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. So you might be wondering why we are talking about extending the therapeutic benefit of this drug to mental illness to lung diseases. So without going into the science or a biology associated with the mental illness and the lung diseases, I would like to take few seconds to highlight. So the main connection between the mental illness and then lung diseases, PAH and then IPF, are dysfunctional serotonin signaling in the brain. It leads to mental illness. In the lungs, lead to PAH and then IPF, primarily involvement of three major serotonin receptors, 5-HT2A, 2B, and then 7, having potent activities for these three receptors. So we believe this drug, also based on the data in hand, we believe we are in a position to treat both mental illness of neuropsychiatric conditions as well as lung diseases, PAH and then IPF. So we have already published an article highlighting this science in Nature Biotechnology. This article is available on our website if you would like to look at the details. So now going into the therapeutic areas where we are currently focused on, and then market outlook. So neuropsychiatric conditions, there are three major conditions with respect to large market size: schizophrenia, depression, bipolar disorder, and ADHD. So not all antipsychotics are approved for treatment of all four major neuropsychiatric conditions. Only a handful of drugs out of 10, only a handful of drugs are approved for beyond schizophrenia, depression, and then bipolar disorder. And only 3 to 4 drugs are approved for major depressive disorder as well. And then only one drug approved for all 4 indications: schizophrenia, depression, bipolar, and ADHD, that is Abilify. Brand name, generic name is aripiprazole. So based on the profile of our drug and then clinical data in hand, we believe our drug can be extended for beyond schizophrenia, for major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, and ADHD, with total addressable market size of close to $40 billion. So with respect to pulmonary indications, PAH and then IPF, these are major pulmonary indications. Huge unmet need. Currently, there is no cure for PAH as well as IPF. Total addressable market size is around $20 billion. $14 billion is PAH, around $6 billion IPF. Based on recent literature reports, it is expected that neuropsychiatric conditions highlighted here, these 4 major indications, there is an around a 10 to 14% growth in the patient population in the next 5 to 6 years. Same with the pulmonary indications, PAH and then IPF. Expected growth is around 10 to 12%. So already having a huge unmet need and then over $40 billion aggregate market size for these indications. If we are able to capture fraction of a market size, our drug can be a blockbuster category drug when it comes to market. So now quickly move on to a schizophrenia program. So you might be wondering, why do we need new drug, despite having around a 6 to 7 blockbuster category antipsychotics currently in the market. Here is the data. If you look at, despite having 6 to 7 blockbuster category drugs, in acute schizophrenia patient population in a short span of around 4 to 6 weeks of treatment with approved antipsychotics, around 30 to 50% patients discontinue medication. So in the long-term treatment, up to 70% patients are reported to discontinue medication. So these are blockbuster drugs I'm talking about. So despite having 6 to 7 blockbuster category drugs, why do these patients discontinue medication in the schizophrenia treatment? This is partly because of intolerable side effects as well as suboptimal efficacy associated with approved antipsychotics, especially for the treatment of residual symptoms, we call it. Schizophrenia is not a single disease like cancer. It is at least it is a combination of at least 4 major symptoms: positive symptoms, negative symptoms, cognitive deficits, and more. By and large, approved antipsychotics address positive symptoms, and then patients becomes stable in 4 to 6 weeks of treatment. But most patients have difficulty in quickly recovering from residual symptoms, negative symptom, cognitive, and then more. An effective drug should be able to address these residual symptoms for faster recovery of patients. So without going into the scientific details, I would like to give a top-level statistics in the phase 2 study in 234 patients in 4 weeks. Our drug, RP5063, has shown only around 12 to 14% dropout compared to approved antipsychotics, blockbuster category antipsychotics in the similar trial, shown anywhere around a 30 to 50% dropout rates. That dropout rates alone clearly indicates that RP5063 has better efficacy and then safety profile compared to approved antipsychotics. So this, we are in preparing for initiating pivotal phase 3 studies. We expect to start pivotal phase 3 studies by end of this year, sometime in November, December timeframe. So this is the mechanism of the drug, and then I would not go into detail. This is a balanced dopamine serotonin targeted compound, having dopamine partial agonist activity and then potent activity for 5-HT2A, 2B, and then 7 receptors. So our drug has very weak activity in about 100-fold weaker or no activity for off targets that are known to cause metabolic side effects. Often they are irreversible, such as the receptors such as 5-HT2C, alpha adrenergic 1 and 2, and then muscarinic receptors M3. These are implicated for metabolic and endocrine side effects. Our drug doesn't have any appreciable activity for these receptors. That's why in the phase 2 study, I will show you data in a minute, we have seen much cleaner safety profile compared to approved antipsychotics. So this is the top line data, phase 2 study data. If you look at here, we have tried 3 doses, RP5063, 15 milligram, 30, and then 50 milligram. Here, all 3 doses showed good efficacy, and then 2 doses showed statistically significant improvement in 4 weeks. So without going into the detail, if you would like to compare this data with approved antipsychotics in similar trials, approved antipsychotics in 4 weeks showed anywhere around a 13-point improvement to 18-point improvement, the blockbuster category drugs. So we have shown here around 20-point improvement in 4-week study. This is certainly makes this drug, it's a very robust efficacy for schizophrenia compared to approved antipsychotics in this space. Either way you slice the drug, whether from the day 1 to day 28 or placebo adjusted efficacy. Either way, this is really a robust data compared to approved antipsychotics. This is a scale or a data regulatory agencies in the US, FDA, in the Europe, as well as rest of the world use as a standard for approving an antipsychotic drug to market. However, a drug to post-approval to gain market access, the drug has to have efficacy beyond total PANSS score. So that particularly efficacy for treating negative symptoms and improvement in social functioning. Otherwise, if a drug doesn't have good efficacy for negative symptoms and social functioning improvement, so the patients are not going to fully recover fast. So here we have, our drug has shown efficacy on day 14 itself, robust efficacy for negative symptoms and social functioning improvement.